Okay, so here we go again. Another week of doing Unreal technical stuff. And this week we have a challenging experiment on our hands where we're going to try and do rigging within Unreal, which may or may not work out. I feel like our weeks are going to be a lot like this, where I just keep trying to do stuff that I've never done before. And the rigging part in Unreal is quite new. Definitely not a feature that has been around for very long, and it's still in beta, so it probably won't be acting at 100% right now. So we're going to try and see if we can get something together, see where we go with it anyways. There is a video that I had been watching in the past of someone demonstrating the tools, and it does seem like a bit of an unorthodox way to approach it, so it should be interesting to see how this goes. And my backup plan, if it all fails, of course, is to just animate the character in Maya using its rig. So that's pretty fail-safe. So we should have something to do for the next 2 hours here as we do this. And I'm not going to forget this time to switch my screen to my desktop here, because I seem to have a bad habit where I forget to do this part. And I go on for about 15 minutes talking about stuff and not realizing that my screen isn't shared. So we'll see what we're doing here. We've got the Unreal project open that we were working on in the previous weeks, and we seem to be just continuing to add to this scene every time. This is a posing level. This is actually not what I was expecting to load up. I should have just opened it 2 seconds before I did this so that I could have made sure I had the right level. Oh, is it overview? Yeah, it's overview. Sorry, not posing level. That's just misleading. So that we have our landscape using some of the features like the lighting, new lighting features, and we have a cinematic shot that we have our character that we're using. That's doing a pose here, jumping over a rock. It's actually a Quixel asset rock, and oh man, so I just moved the environment. That was really helpful. Definitely really glad I did that. Let me see if I don't have any more undos. What did I do? Do not save the map. I love it when you do these ridiculous things. I don't know why I couldn't undo it, so it's kind of concerning. So let's try that again. Cinematic. We're just going to go to the posing thing. All right, I'll be a little more careful here. There's our environment. And if we take a look at our camera shot, we have a nice tight shot of the character jumping over this rock. We even have, oh, what am I doing? I can't play it that way. I want to play it this way. A VFX that we did last week, doing a little Niagara VFX. And, you know, it's very basic, very almost ridiculously basic, because I've just learning Niagara as it's just sort of come out recently. So, but the idea is we're going to create sort of these effects of bullets ricocheting off rocks, and maybe even like some sort of plasma thing here in the gun. The VFX is not the area of my expertise, so I'm not going to try and make this illusion that I'm amazing with VFX, but it would be cool for our shot. And so my background is actually in technical animation, so I'm a little more comfortable with the rigging side of it, although it is a bit wild and crazy to just go and try a new tool from nothing, basically, especially when it's a beta tool. But anyway, we'll give it a go, see what happens. So we're going to do the first thing I happen to know, so we'll see how far I get with my happen to know information here, is that the plugin is not loaded by default, and you have to turn it on. So here's our control rig, and it is beta, so we are not really supposed to use it in production. It's just more of a, there we go, there's our warning. It might be removed without notice. That's funny. So then once you add a new plugin, you have to restart your editor. So I'm going to save my changes to my source control and just kind of get things switched up. And we'll see see what happens here. The problem when you're working on stuff that's beta is there's very little documentation about it. And what's hilarious is reminds me a lot of when I first started learning Unreal, when it was in Rocket, when it was called Rocket, and it was like the documentation was minimal at best. They did have a service that we would use that was kind of this private little network, which actually is now everybody can use it publicly, but it was like answers and questions, and yeah, often you'd have to ask your own question because nobody has asked it before, and then your answer might be like, "Oh yeah, we're still working on that feature. Don't worry about it." It's like, "Oh, good." So what's a good workaround? So those are really rough times to be working on stuff. All right, so now this is where things get very tricky very fast for me because I don't even know where to start now. It's possible that we have an animation control rig asset here. All right, this is going well so far. And what is the parent rig? Okay, we're just gonna do control rig. I'm putting it right in the root. So here's our control rig execute pin. So the video that I watched, let me go find the reference to this because I'm probably gonna require this to get through what I'm trying to do. Let's see here. I have it up on our Slack library under Unreal Animation. And it's a demo. So here, I'm going to click on the link and bring it over for you guys to see. So it's actually, what's funny is the person that's interviewing, I don't know, I can't read his name. The guy that knows how to do, oh geez, I don't know how to pronounce his name now. Helge? The guy that's interviewing it is the guy from MGear, and he's, MGear is a whole open source tool set for Maya, which is a great, very interesting tool set, very interesting direction. However, Unreal rigging is basically would be their direct competitor. But you know, it's all for the better output in the end of the day, I guess. I wonder if there's a way you can see here the video doesn't really start until like an hour in. They were just chatting about stuff. I never even watched the beginning part. It was just one of the comments was like, if you really want to see what you want to know, jump to an hour in. So it's quite a long go in the beginning. Oh, here's our execute pin. So let's see here. He basically tells us to load in the plugin. Got that part. He has a skeleton assigned to it somehow, which I'm curious to know if he... Oh, it looks like he already has it ready to go. I'm just curious to see if he'll be... Yeah, this is going to be tricky. All right, we have a character. Here it is. What's this other one? Is this the new one? I think the new one is the one where I got the textures working better. Or no, I think it was the one I was demonstrating in the video, so maybe the textures aren't working very well here. Let me just open it up and see if we got good reflections or anything on these characters. So this is a free rig that's available on the internet from a web source. I can probably pull that up too. And I was using it to basically learn how it works as well. So just have to find the link. The link is extremely hard to find, apparently. I don't know what that's all about. Nope, not that one, not that one, not that one. And then it gets into other stuff. Wow, okay, so here I am looking for stuff in my library. There, I found it. and it's not finding what I'm looking for. So this is it. There's lots of great rigs on here. The ones that have little icons like this are game rigs, so those are good. And you want to make sure that those are the ones you're looking at if you want to put them in Unreal, because all the other ones are just for film-based pipelines. But then down here is your free stuff. So you can grab this one. These two are, or these three are all film-based, so you won't be able to use them. But anyway, that's the character we got. It's a bit of a hassle sometimes to get the materials working properly. So I can see right now that these are not fully set up. They got the diffuse textures, but we haven't really added any of the reflection materials and stuff. So I think that's in this folder here. You can see that the materials are a little bit better properly set up. I should actually just delete this folder so I don't sit there and wonder which one I did again. There's one reference to one of the characters. Hopefully it's not going to break anything. That's a great thing about source control, though. If I break anything, I can just go back. Okay, so my thought was he's using a skeleton. I wonder if, now that I have the plugin installed, could I go in here, right-click on the skeletal mesh, and there it is, create control rig. Yay. All right, so here's our folder, here's our file. All right, now we got our character. And we have a begin execute pin ready to roll for whatever it is we're going to do here. Oh, we got Nadia saying hi. I am actually reading the chat on on Twitch eventually. Hopefully, I'm not going to miss too much here. And if anyone has anything they want to tell me or ask me, feel free to let me know. Like, for example, if you can hear me or not, that would be really good to know. Hopefully everybody can. I'm just trying to look right here. I did have a, yeah, okay, there's my microphone. I did have a crazy scenario where when I updated my video drivers, all my audio channels in my OBS, okay, good. You can hear me great. All my audio channels got all mixed up and changed and adjusted. So here I am like 5 minutes before my Twitch stream going, whoa, everything's all disconnected, and I'm trying to put it all back together. So it was good. I'm here. It worked. Okay, so execute pin. Let's see if what we can do here, just out of curiosity before I go back to the video. Now this, apparently the rigging system, if you do watch that video, is very unorthodox in how they approach things. And so it's a whole like mind shift on how to approach it, but it is also really interesting. Like the change of direction on how you do it also opens up all these new possibilities that you know, you have this traditional mindset of how to rig, and this is a different way to approach it. So you may be able to do things that we would find really difficult to do in the past, and now it's quite easy. Although the flip side of that is maybe something that's really simple is actually really, really hard to do. that could be the case. It is in beta after all. So he's doing this onto the default skeleton from Unreal. And let's see here.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some animation to the spine. So I can do that multiple ways, but I'll do it one of the ways I like. So I'll say I want to set the transform. In fact, I'm going to do an offset transform. So I'm going to change the bone of spine and add some transform to it. So we've added. So one of the new things in 4.25. So what this will mean now is basically and compiler and everything.
Yeah.
Completely from scratch build.
This is apparently a very interesting way to view your rig, but I think you have to download a plugin for it.
Adding moving nodes, you know, creating wires. The thing is, the child bones have not moved with it, so the fingers here. that I feel is better. And I'll create another one, which is the fabric solder. So this, so it's just I was just wanted to do this very quick.
Okay, so
this is fabric with a
this is more the part I want to see.
And the way you create it is in the plug, and then it's going to add, like, choose a I don't know, so that you can, instead of having to type in a number, you can pull up, and you can see as I'm pulling this will just, you can use Python to build the graphs. You can also use Python to build the hierarchy. So if you want add, remove bones, move them in space, etc., you have Python for that as well. So that way you can completely from scratch build one of those rigs. Great thing is the child bones have not moved with it, so the fingers here are still there. So I'll just enable the.
So he's creating a basic IK.
So now you can see it's a straight arm.
So that's kind of cool. If I want to just simplify down what I want to do here so that I can actually achieve something interesting. If I just do the IK for the arm, for example, you got to find your first bone and your last bone. And what I'm curious to know is he's got that controller object that was created right afterwards that allowed you to select the IK controller. And I'm not sure what exactly the method is for that. But we'll start here. We'll create this basic IK. Let's make sure that we can actually do this. And I'm just curious to see if it's right here. There it is. Whoa, basic FABRIK. What? Solver can solve n-bone chains using the forward and backward reaching inverse kinematics algorithm. For now, this node supports single effector chains only. Okay, it's for bone chains, I guess. But all we want is an IK, which is just a really basic it's a basic rig. Just would be great for the arm, for example. So we're going to switch this into all hierarchy so we can kind of see what we're looking at here. And what I'm looking for is bone names here. So that's not good. I was hoping I could actually select the bone joints, but apparently I can't. I'm just going to turn on the bone labels. And this gets really confusing to look at, so I'm not really all that anxious to do this way, but we got a shoulder joint and the arm joint. What does that say? UNJL. Okay, UNJ. Maybe I can type this in. UNJL and arm 0. All right. So that's our first joint. And we're going to go all... Oh, this is going to be crazy with all these twist joints. Be interesting to see if this actually works. Yeah, maybe it will. If I do arm 5 as my... I assume there's 10 joints altogether, so arm 5 would be in the middle. Effector bone. Yeah, I don't really have one yet, so I don't know how that works. Okay, well, it's on auto compile. That's cool. I don't really know where I'm going with this. He's modifying the translation. Oh, he does have an effector. It's the hand. Okay, cool. So we'll do the hand. Hopefully it's called hand. Wrist, I guess. This is the left wrist. Oh, good. It's doing what, except for it's not moving the hierarchy. That's not good. Well, let's go back to the video for a sec.
So this is familiar to those of you who've used ice in the past or Houdini use of those.
See, he's got that part in there, and he's only just got the one joint and the one joint, so they're really not dealing with twist joints. This could be a stopping point for me, but I'll keep plugging away, see what else I can do. I'm actually kind of surprised his rig doesn't have twist joints. I thought this rig did have one, so I don't know. It's kind of weird. But let's go see if we can see what the effector... Was he using the effector or just... Yeah, it was inside of the effector translation. Is there a tool that he was using to make that easier? Oh man, you cannot see anything with these bone names. Huh. That's interesting. How is he doing it? He's just... Yeah, he's translating it. It's got a hierarchy down here. Oh, that was important. What did he just do there? Control pin value. Wow. Okay, let's do that. Right click and go control pin value. There it is. Hopefully it makes sense that putting it in the right place. Seems a bit weird that I gotta eyeball it, but whatever. Oh, there's the rig hierarchy. It's just over here. I'm sure there's a better way to do this, but whatever. Okay, I guess I'm ready to move to the next step. See what we got. His arm is moving nicely when he moves it, so this is a bad sign. It's not good when his is working nicely here. Actually, I happen to remember in the video he leaves the arm all messed up, and he's like, "Oh, whatever." Didn't really even address it.
But that's because the pull vector, so the up vector position, is also down there. It's also here. And one of the other features I'd like to show is that we added visual debugging to this. So this is familiar to those of you who've used ICE in the past or Houdini or some of those, where you can say visualize this in 3D. So I'll right click and say add visual debug, and then it's going to add, I choose a
nice.
CN type point. So it's going to show you it's down here.
So you can show points, vectors.
So I can go in and...
Okay, let's do it. We got pull vector, add visual debug, make it the blue color, and it's down there. Is it selectable? Oh, what did I... We have a lot of visual debugs. Hey, what do we got here? We got somebody following. Nom nom random. Nom nom random. Awesome. Thank you for the follow. Thank goodness for the notifications that people are following. Then I can actually hear it and I pay attention right away. It's very good. Right. What was I doing? uh, so changing the pole vector. I realized I picked the color blue, which is really distracting because there's all these different blues in here. So can I edit? Oh, there we go. Edit the visual debug. Let's do purple. Oh yeah, there we go. I see something. Now I gotta figure out what is the purple.
Yeah, you have a bunch of them. You can show a lot of things.
Wow.
Basically transforms as axes and rotations and lines and that stuff. So we'll just move it up, let's say. So we'll have it
Oh, he's actually
up
just
there now.
typing
Obviously,
numbers.
that's still not right. It's kind of funny that he's looking up. That's a coincidence. So I'll just right-click again and say control pin value, and I'll move it to some location that I feel is better.
I guess I should have known that. I just learned how to do that part. All right, well, we'll just do that too because ours is in a mess down here. So pole vector, put this up to, well, I'm going to do 100. Oh, wait, that's not right. 300 maybe. Okay, and then we take it, right click, and what was it again? Control pin. No. What was it? All right, control pin value. It doesn't really give me the impression that it's going to create a controller, but that's okay. So we'll manipulate this into a place where the pole vector usually goes. And we'll see if, well, we'll see what we have to do next in the video, I guess. But I have a feeling that we're not going to get the best results here.
So back here somewhere, right?
Yeah, like his elbow's actually moving. And I bet you there's a joint in the elbow that is moving here. No, I can't even see it. Yeah, it's not a very good sign. Unless it's just based on the mathematics, you're not going to see any results. But because I have all these twist joints, it may just not be looking like it's doing anything.
This is not final. I'll just put it there so we have something. So now we're done, and we can basically disable the debug again if we don't need it anymore. But basically now we have an IK that's sort of working, but we cannot yet animate it, right? Because we don't have a controller for it. In Maya, some people call them dials or whatever, but the objects that you click on, that you put the animation on, we don't have any of those yet. So I'll create one. And the way you create it is in the rig hierarchy. You can right click and you can say new, and you can either create new bones, new controls, or new spaces that are basically groups, right? So I'll say new control, and it will be down there somewhere. And I'm not going to work super exactly. I'll just put it here for the demo. And then what I'll say is this is where it's born. So I'll just say this is its initial. So this is where the control has its 0 transform. And then I'll name.
Let's do it before I forget how this works. We're going to basically, was it in here or in the rig hierarchy? Rig hierarchy. I guess we're going to stay outside of the skeleton. Create a new control. Which I should be able to manipulate. Something like that. And then I gotta right click on it and say set initial transform from current. Basically freezes the location, I guess.
Name it hand left or something. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
So now as I move this around, I have this new animation channel, and I can use it now to drive the rig. So I'll just get it in here, and then wire it to the effector. Right. So
that's cool.
now you can see the rotation.
Let's try doing that. So new control is going to be called left hand. What? Hey, did I screw it up because I minimized it for 1 second? That's great. Maybe I can rename it from here. Rename left hand. There we go. And you just dragged it in. Get control, just like a regular variable. And you do transform to the effector. That way I don't have to this is the effector. Okay. Yeah, this is the wrist control. Cool. Ah, yes. Now it showed up. All right, let's go back to the video.
Isn't quite right for the hand. But now it's pinned there, and as you can see, I can now animate this guy around. So I'll put him here, set its initial again, so you can see it's stuck here now. And as our guy is leaning back and forth, you can see how the hand is stuck in place.
Oh, that's why you
and
animated
also, this
spine.
control will be available in the animation system as something you can key. Right, that's the idea. So I'll create another hand with a slightly different solver, and then we can move on. So the next thing I'll do is I'll just disconnect this for a moment, and I'll create another one, which is a fabric solver. So this is fabric with a K. It's not fabric with a C. So don't confuse it with the
It's
fabric.
just a pure coincidence with reality.
Fabric with a K stands for forward and backward reaching inverse kinematics. So it's an IK solver that can work on longer chains, and it also is available as a multi-effector solver. So you can have multiple things pulling on the chain at once. So we'll just use it for now. So I'll show you what that means. So I'll start at the spine, and then go all the way to the right hand as a single IK solver. So I'll just use
this is what we
spine
need.
one,
Or for our
and
twist joints
right.
to work.
And again, default configuration doesn't work well. So let's just first enable propagate to children. And you can see same problem. He's like reaching down, and that's not quite right. So why don't I go ahead and just duplicate the hand? So we'll just duplicate this guy. Call it right.
Except I still don't think it's going to work. You're going to get the whole wrist all breaking as it works up the chain.
So I guess minus. And then I'll pull it in and use it for this effector, right? So again, the rotation is off and everything, so I'll just try to fix that a little bit so that it makes more sense. But what's interesting about this guy now is that he has
that you can get it to, like, say I want these joints not to be influenced by it or something. I don't know whether you can maybe get into it and start finding out what specifically what you want it to ignore, and then maybe it would work. But I definitely think that's kind of the more direction. Rather than a basic IK, we have to use this fabric solver instead. So it's basic fabric multi-effector. And solve multi-chains within a root using multi-effectors. Reaching. For now, this node supports single effector chains only. What? This supports multi-effectors, but only supports single effector chains. Okay, doesn't matter. I think we're just gonna ignore the first part because it's never gonna work very good for us. I mean, we could have fun with it, but in the end of the day, I think all we're gonna get is, you know, the outline of what a IK control rig will look like, minus all of the twist joints in between. But at least we can kind of see that we're getting something working there, and this is probably influencing it. I would need to create a control rig for that. I'm just gonna do that for just a sec. I want to see if this pull vector will actually control pin value. Oh, see, I have to that's why he mentioned that you do this and then you have to go and say I want to make this now the set transform current so that it doesn't go back whenever you move. But then, yeah, so that does work. Pole vector is connected properly. We just only have 2 joints. Anyways, so we're not going to do that. So I can just disconnect the execute pin and it goes back to where it was. So I think these are some of the advantages that we're getting from having a different type of rigging setup here. It's all like live wired, happening in real time rather than a permanent setup that's being rigged together. Which I'm very curious to see what to do with all these stuff. It's very interesting. Okay. So let's try to do the whole rig again. This is going to be so much fun. But we're going to use the fabric instead of just the basic IK. And we can reuse this get control transform because it's, oh no, well, except for I screwed it up because I moved it and then told it to save its location. Doesn't matter. It's easy fix. I just have to remember to click that again. All right. And that was really dumb because I just shot it out of the way. There we go. So we set the initial transform to current. That was kind of a later step anyways, but I suppose I could just do this in theory. And our start bone is going to be the same bones, which is helpful because I don't have to look it up again. So UN JL arm OO to, and then this is the elbow. Oh wait, no it isn't. It's the wrist. Left wrist. Let's do it. Let's see what it does. Whoa. Yeah, see, look how awesome that is. It's creating like a scorpion tail of the entire arm. It's so cool. Yeah, I don't know how this is helpful to us, but it's very cool. Particularly like how it springs back again. So like, it's such a nice natural way. That is very neat. So yeah, the theory is, what if we can do this, but then and then just ignore some joints? How do I get it to refresh? Compile? There we go. I think I can just delete this now. Now, I really have no idea if you can ignore stuff, but it might be something in here. I don't even know where you would propagate the children. If such a true, all global transforms of the children of this bone will be recalculated. Oh yeah, so I turned that on. Maybe the hand will move with it. Ah yes, there we go. That was an important step. Interesting how that the locator was rotated wrong. The controller, I should say. There must be a way to be able to say align the controller to the bone joint so that I don't have to guess what the original location was. And sometimes they did have these options when you're doing stuff where you could say get transform of such and such, but you know, wouldn't be able to guarantee that. Oh, here we go. Oh, you paste the local transform. How do you get the local transform? Yeah. Copy maybe. And then you paste it. All right, I'm gonna be really boring here and I might actually try this. Unity output meshes, Unity output skeletons. That's interesting that they put the meshes there. I don't know if that's in the skeleton itself. We want the output B prop spine. How about the spine? Leg, jacket, skirt. What? Spine, ribs, rib cage, shoulder, collar, left collar. There it is, left arm. Copy. Is there anything else in here now? Reset. Yeah, no, just copy. And then pick this guy and go. This is the wrong bone, but whatever. Paste. Global transform. No. Paste. Local transform? No. Alright, so that was a waste of time. Right, so max iterations 10. Maximum number of iterations between 4 and 16 are common. Iterations, what does that mean? Let's do 4. No. Oh, maybe that's the iterations of children joints, if it was related to this question. Which maybe 4. There was already 4, barely. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. Vector transform, precision, weight. The weight of the solver. How much the IK should be applied. Precision of the fabric solver. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see what we got here. Do we have anything fun? I'll just jump back to the video again. See what else we can learn about. Hierarchy, fit chain on curve. I wonder what these things mean. The CCID solver can solve n-bone chains using the cyclic coordinate descent inverse schematics. What? Now this node supports single effector chains only. I have no idea what that does. Distributes rotations along chain. Each rotation is expression by a quaternion and a ratio. I don't think that's what we want. Modify transforms. Was it possible while I was looking at these joints that somehow I could like lock them? Hips. No. Wait. Yes. Hips, waist, ribs. Whatever. I'll just use one of these. Reset. Set initial. Duplicate. New. Delete. Name. Control bone transform. Sets the bone transform using a gizmo. Okay. That's not what I want. Reset transform. Set initial transform current. Nope. Transform constraint. I think even if I do find something, it's going to, well, I don't know, maybe it won't, but like if you set the translation to be transformed to be 0 or something, it would happen after the chain. So it would say, do this, and then it would say, don't do it before it finishes the execute like tick. It's just like you would in an animation blueprint or something. This is my theory, is how it works, is you have this series of manipulations before you're done. So as long as you can, it might be manipulating it one way, but if you can reset it again before the draw is finished, then you would look correct in the game. So maybe it's a matter of saying, we're just talking about rotation here. So set rotation to like, you'd have to like literally say each bone. But we can try some of this. This might be fun. Set rotation of UNJL arm 01. which is right after the arm of 0. And we'll say its rotation is 0, I guess. Can we, what kind of value is this? I guess it's just a rotation, three numbers or something. Oh yeah, there it is. X, Y, Z. It's already set to 0, so I don't have to do anything. You could say propagate to children. We definitely see an influence there. And we're talking about local space rotation of 0. Compile that. And what I'm hoping to see is when I lift this, the arm does not do its funky chain thing. That is not true. Oh, except for that top arm does seem to be maybe locked in. So propagate to children maybe needs more ones. It's only just propagating. Yeah, see, that second joint is not doing it. So that's, maybe it is working. I don't know. But propagate to children, maybe it's just not working. If set to true, all global transforms of the children of the bone. Maybe it's just the one child below it. Be recalculated based on the transform. This is computationally more expensive than turning it off. Okay. Well, let's try to let's do more. This is a this is a really weird way to do anything, but hey, whatever. We're gonna do it for a test. We'll do, I don't know how many we need to do. There's a whole bunch of twist joints in here. 1, 2, 3. Oh, maybe it's only 3. Oh, there's 10 altogether, I think it was. So 4 probably. Minus the first one, so. Arm left 3, and we'll do the fourth one. Arm 04. Oh goodness, no. Arm 04. All right, let's try it out. Compile. Yeah, there it is. Getting ourselves a non-floating arm. That's actually kind of weird. I'm surprised doing 4 of them didn't go further down the wrist. Because it looks like I have to do more than 4. Because that elbow is 1 more than that. Oh man. Well, maybe if I do all of them, I can just duplicate it easily. I don't think so. It's just like, it would be probably best if they made a node that said set rotation to a series of joints or something. I mean, these are technically name nodes, so you can, oh, they usually have promote to variable, but, see, they don't even have any variables. That's weird. This is definitely a different kind of blueprint than what I'm used to. But if you, my theory was if you had a variable that you could just call these names, you could maybe even procedurally build these names or something. I don't know. You can make your own custom function that would procedurally go through this process of doing all these different bones, and you just give it an array of names. So you don't have to like rely on Epic to build it for you. You can make your own. But if you are unable to build arrays, I mean, well, variables and functions and all that stuff, because I don't actually see the window for that kind of stuff right now, so I don't know how exactly that would work. And maybe that's too complex for trying to do an execution stack. Wow. Okay, so I'm going to try to do this, I think, but it's definitely going to be kind of boring, so hopefully it's going to be kind of worth it. We'll just have the one arm work. What time is it? We're almost at an hour. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. Decide whether or not I'm going to sacrifice my Twitch stream for boredom. because the problem is I may be doing it a poor way. Like it's one thing to be doing the labor of doing it. It's another to actually be doing it in the correct method. So 7. Arm. Oh goodness. See, my theory was I was going to do build a control rig and then do an animation next week was the idea, so that I would animate using my control rig. Oh man, I gotta stop talking if I'm starting to make this many mistakes. 9. There's not more than 9 joints. How is this even going to work? Yeah, there's only one more left. And I don't even know what they called the last one. Was it 10 or something? Arm 0. Maybe that's it. Oh no, that's the first one. And it's also the right arm, which is not good. It only goes up to 9. I guess the other one's wrist. That's what it is. But I'm not sure if I want to lock the wrist. That doesn't really make a lot of sense. It sounds like it's going to be disastrous. Oh, look, I can still break it. All right, let's turn on the joint names and see what's going on there. Arm 5 is rotating, arm 6 is also rotating. So why is that? Oh, it's because I didn't put 6 in there. And also, why is arm 5 rotating when it clearly is mentioned right here? Also, does that even look right? Let's make this arm 06. Now arm 05. Yeah, actually, you know what? Arm 0. Oh no, that's arm 04 that's bending now. So I told set rotation to arm 04 to be 0, and it's still rotating. So it's the parent, or no, it's translating maybe, not rotating. Yeah, because it goes beyond the dimensions, I think. It's tricky. So should we say arm 04 should also be set to set translation? Set translation at 0 for arm 04. Oh, I don't know if I want it to be 0 though. Because if I set it to 0, bones need to have the translation distance of their previous, from how far they are from their parent, right? Otherwise, they sit at the same location. So by doing this, I'm making it not move. I don't think global space is going to help us here. What we need is a local space based on whatever it was previously, which it's possible we can do get transform. Ah, yeah, there it is. Get transform of arm 04 and oh, I got the whole transform. Local space. I really kind of do find this interesting how I'm making adjustments and I'm seeing the results immediately in the viewer, but I'm not actually, you know, it's actually a lot easier than in Maya, where I'd have to like, oh, I've made a mistake, I've got to redo it or do a little test to see what the results are. And here it's like, it's because it's refreshing every frame, I can immediately find out if my tests are working or not, which is cool. Not saying this is better than Maya rigging at the moment, but I'm it's definitely a very difficult way to do like a simple rig here. And plus whatever I just did here did not work, by the way, because Armo 4 is definitely shifted from Armo 3, so it's kept its location. Didn't solve anything though. It's still, I guess technically it's, oh wait a minute, maybe it did work. No, it's Armo 4, Armo 5. So maybe Armo 5 needs to hold its position. That's cool, we can do that. Armo 5. Is anybody even telling Armo 5 to do anything? I don't think so. So Armo 5, keep its original position. And, oh man, that really changes things. There's a little bit of bend on Armo 5 from rotation, but there's definitely no translation anymore. Nobody's telling it to do anything rotation-wise, because we just do Armo 4 set rotation and then Armo 6 set rotation, but we're telling Armo 5 to stay in its translation position. Maybe we shouldn't be telling Armo 6 to modify its rotation. I think this is a disaster, but whatever, we'll do it anyway. Oh, maybe. Oh man, you can really stretch that out though. Also, yeah, that's pretty messed up. So we're getting Armo 5 not moving, and it's free to rotate. Armo 6 is translating. And it's free to rotate as well, so technically Armo 6 is going to create a bit of a weird distortion here. Yep, I'm on the wrong track. Okay, so anyway, kind of cool to figure out what I'm doing. You know, I have a slight better sense of what's going on with trying to get a rig set up, and I'm definitely seeing some of the advantages, but if I was to realistically do this, I'd want to use a character that does not have twist joints, because you need to really create a special setup for what we're trying to do here. And maybe they have that as one of the execution options, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't talk about it in the video because it's too specific, and his rig did not require this. He was already trying to keep it really, really simple so that we weren't overly confusing people. It does have this nice reach effect, which is something you can do with HIK, where you overreach and the whole thing springs in that direction. And he really starts to talk about how you can utilize that in like the Scorpion rig that he shows later. I don't know. I don't really want to. Kind of at this point thinking, because I don't want to, like, I want to be able to use the character that I've actually animated with, or at least I posed out, then I feel like I really need to combat this with a different character and a different reason for why I'm animating it, because if I go to all the trouble of creating this control rig for it and then looking at this rig though, and realizing that they have a chain of bones in there as well for the tail and stuff. Yeah, but we don't want want that flexibility in the arm. What's silly is a twist. The whole point of what a twist joint's for is just so that you can get a nicer skinning deformation when you rotate your wrist, so that they only rotate on one axis. So you get like a nice, straight arm, but then those joints are all twisting based on a percentage of what the wrist is rotating in comparison to the elbow, and then it changes all the way up. And there's different ways to do it in Maya, whether you're using a spline IK system with a little bit of a hack to make sure that they only rotate in one axis, or if you just use an expression that you can have that calculates it, based on how many joints up you are. You could say rotate by this percentage or that percentage. The way we did it at Rocksteady was we had a script that was internal to Unreal, so like we didn't even care whether our twist joints were working or not in Maya, or I guess it was in Motion Builder. But when it was in the game, it would automatically get calculated, and it would sort out all the twist joints automatically, so we wouldn't have to worry about it. It's whatever it looked like in the game. So there's something like that could be implemented in Unreal as an alternative, so that you have an actual feature called twist joints, and you just say which joints are twist joints and these ones, and then they'll just know what to do with them rather than having to manually assemble the process, because it's pretty common to have a rig with twist joints. Anyways, just talking about it aloud is making me realize that it's might be a little bit early to be trying to get this particular character working for it. He just opened up another rig. This is a control rig that is been assembled. I think you can get this either from somewhere in here. He has access to these rigs. Oh look, control rig documentation. That is useful. Oh, and 4.21. I did not even realize it had already been released in 4.21. Right arm pull target. See, like I bet you, this is the thing when you're working on something beta. It's like it changes so quick. You go all this trouble to make this control rig, and then in the end of the day, it'll be like, oh, these nodes have been replaced. But yeah, this is his control rig for biped, which they did do a test animation. I think he shows it. Somebody just doing a kick or something, and it came up pretty good. It was kind of what I was hoping I'd be able to get to, maybe by today, is something that would be assembled in a way that, at least a starting point. I guess in theory I could use this control rig and animate with it instead, just to see what it's like animating in it. Although it does sound really painful because I wouldn't even know what I'm doing. But it would be good to get my hands on one of these things. See here, he breaks his scorpion rig, so he has to reopen it because it's all offset from its rig. There we go. And he reopens it. This is kind of a neat demonstration because it shows that the scorpion itself can have a nice follow through as you move. So you set up the rig, but then you're also getting this nice secondary action, and you're not having to bake it in and export it out as an FBX. You're actually getting all that stuff related to its its action that it just did, and which is great when you're doing in-game stuff, because you don't have to think about all the different scenarios that it might be coming from. You can just do the pose, get to the goal, and then it's going to create all that animation in betweens related to its previous motion for you. So I'm pretty excited for this feature just for that reason alone. Let's see if they have this in the documentation, like some kind of rig I can download just for playing with. Oh, you need a special control rig sequencer file. Thought it was just any sequencer file. But that's basically your interface you're going to animate with is the sequencer, which is, I don't know. My opinion on that is it's going to be difficult, but you know, they build towards that direction, it might get better. Hopefully it'll get better. This is interesting. What is it trying to say here? It's just saying the different layouts, but I'm like, is there something I'm missing that I don't have? Like these tabs up here, event graph, rig graph? I don't remember that showing up. Where's my event graph? I feel like they got rid of that. It's like, wait, we don't need this. Because if a rig graph is a special type of graph that you can only do certain things in, and then you have an event graph, which is what you normally see in an animation blueprint, where you could have variables and stuff, that would be kind of cool. But I don't even see, even in that document, I don't see anything that demonstrates that you can have variables. It's a restriction that they're probably doing on purpose. That tends to happen. If you have like the flow chart or the flow graph in an animation blueprint, they have lots of restrictions that you can't do, and that's just for the sake of, you know, these are things you shouldn't be doing. You need to think in a different mindset when you're working in these type of graphs. I'm just gonna see if there's anything in here that happens to come up as like, oh, that would be interesting. And the other thing is this documentation is likely out of date, so I have to kind of take everything with a grain of salt and go, okay, is this likely to be there? Okay. Yeah, like for example, that has now been changed to some different name. But maybe there's something cool here. I feel like they've, you know, these effectors, they've been combined in a different way nowadays. Okay, so I'm not too concerned about that. Maybe it would be kind of cool to try this rig sequencer, do a little animation with it. So it would be really nice if I could get like some sort of rig. Let me double check to see what they're talking about here. Control rig, Unreal release notes, his Twitter Scorpion rig, work in progress. I feel like that's just going to be his Twitter posts. So I don't think he'll have like, here's a link. Well, if he does, it's going to take me some time. Here's the post. Ignore the first 54 minutes. It would be really handy if they had just talked about where to download it from. Documentation is lacking a little bit.
With some examples and some videos like this one and some more content, you might be okay for starting. So, Chris, if you will. And that is sometimes hard to no longer needed for the rig. But you can keep it there, it's fine. But
Yeah.
it does not cost.
One, but I some like that. So you have a little feedback there, like it's not used. Maybe you want to clean up or
Yeah. So if you click, the
Mhm.
graph is good at this stuff. We're working on that in 30 minutes now. So
Really?
I don't want to bore people
What?
too much. You can probably see this. It jiggles a little bit.
Yes. You will need
Yep.
like a few layers of. That's the whole pivot.
That's the whole vibe. Yeah.
Mhm.
Curve controls, and in here you
Oh, it's talking about the graph editor. Here we go. What's this?
Let's see, engine. Oh, it's still searching. Sorry, it's a bit slow. And then you go under plugins. And then you go under experimental, which is where control rig still is. And then under control rig. Or you can also use the search in GitHub if you're lazy.
Oh, he's talking about how to like.
And then you go
manipulate
under
it.
source and you go under the control rig module. Eventually we'll get there. And then our units. So we call these nodes units. This is where all the units are. So here now we see the same menu that you saw in the right-click menu. And then you can go
How to
into,
create
say,
custom nodes.
Go back, go into hierarchy.
But I don't think
This
he
looks
really
like
meant
a
it in a
node.
way that was like, this is what you should
It's
do.
called something else. Maybe not.
But he's just saying you
It's
can
hierarchy.
actually
It's
look at the
probably
code
something
if you want to. It's all there.
Anyway, why don't we look at
exposed.
another one? We don't have to search that particular one. So let's say the set bone offset, the one that we used. Let's use the top one. I don't necessarily care. You go in here and then you can see, right, this is what the looks like. There's a function, and then inside of this function, it's doing the, let's see, engine. Oh, it's still searching.
Does mean you have to learn C++ programming. So, not envious of those people who want to do this.
Because it depends on where you're coming from. On the line.
Yeah, so this is him working on the previous rig. That's too bad. I don't know. I was hoping I just stumble across the part where he talks about where to get these rigs from. But
So this
like these are just videos even. Particularly this mannequin rig. It would be really cool if they had that available somewhere.
we're hoping to release. I'm pushing to release this as a demo material. So
Oh,
it's not
there you go.
Yet, but we're working on that. So
All right, that's my answer. We're hoping to release this as demo material, but it's not happened yet. Well, we'll assume that that's still accurate. This was May 13th, so it wasn't that long ago. Okay, so that's that. I could, in theory, do a bunch of stuff, but I think I'm going to do something a little more fun. Oh, here I got a question. Wondering why we need to have so many joints on the arm. Wow, I wonder when that question happened, because that was 15 minutes ago. So I wonder if I was answering that unintentionally when I asked it. I can definitely talk about it again. I partially. All right, there we go. I got a partial answer there. So each joint each joint is a twist joint that, like, basically you just have the arm joint and the elbow joint and the wrist joint, and each joint in between is just simply for a better skinning transformation that happens as you, particularly the important ones are from your elbow to your wrist, where you have two bones in your wrist, and when you rotate your wrists, or your two bones in your forearm, I should say, you rotate your wrist, your whole skin and your whole body in that area all like deforms and changes. So if you were to just skin the wrist and skin the elbow, and you change your wrist, like, you got to do this careful skinning to get that effect, and you're still not going to get a great result, because if you start bending your wrists back and forth, like, the skinning on that you're going to try to do along the forearm is going to suddenly tell it to come popping out and do all sorts of weird stuff. So the best solution is just to put some twist joints in there which control that particular motion and only that motion. And sometimes what people do is they put them on a separate hierarchy altogether. So like you'll have your elbow joint go straight to your wrist joint, and then you'll have this other hierarchy that comes from your elbow that goes down the forearm, and that twists each of the joints in the wrist. But meanwhile, it's not actually connected to the hierarchy, and it just rotates the elbow. If this rig was set up that way, we would be able to we'd probably be able to continue doing our rig. But if this part is hard surface and kind of static, yeah, if there's a part of your body that is not flexible in that way, then yeah, there's no point in making joints for it. All these other joints, if you're talking about them, which makes sense if that was what you're talking about, is for helping deformations on, breathing animations, so the chest breathing. Some of these are probably for secondary motion issues. And there is quite a lot of bit of flexibility in the chest anyways. Like if you bring your shoulders in or bring them out, like there's a lot of opportunity for subtle movements and changes. Like there's probably a nice little joint change just for this necklace alone to make sure that that moves, and there's lots of fabric down here that they have joint chains for that are controlling each of that part. So they're kind of nice helpers if you're trying to get a really tight deformation happening and you want to be able to control that. There you go. Got an answer there. And there's, I don't know, there's not really the kind of limitation we used to have for amount of joints in a character, because it's just not that expensive anymore in comparison to what the systems are capable of. So, but each one of these joints have to be taken care of. They have to like be skinned well and tested, and so the more joints you have, the more maintenance it is. So it isn't always better to have like tons and tons of joints. You tend to see a lot more on film rigs than you do on game rigs, but this is technically a film rig and a game rig, I guess, and they've just made the hierarchy so that it's importable into Unreal. But each one of these joints does technically have a cost, not only in processing performance but also in memory. For each of them stores translational rotational information, and if you don't have a good animation compressor, it actually sits there and stays in your memory for no apparent reason if it's not doing anything. All of these things are not that important. You can even change your animation compression and stuff if you needed to if there was ever a reason why that was if your memory budget was needed optimizing. If you're updating for a mobile phone or something, maybe that would be important. Okay, so I've got 40 minutes left. I think because I've kind of lost my drive of where I'm going with this, since my rig isn't going to really work very easily. I'm going to go and just do some animation, and we'll see if I can get something started in 40 minutes using Maya, and see, maybe we'll do like a rough layout so I can digest that for next week, and we'll import that into the game engine so that we can start seeing how it looks, and then I can decide what I'm going to do for the next Twitch stream. Let's see. I should have my source files in here. Characters. There's our game ready and the pose. We probably want to use the pose. I'm not sure if I referenced that in. I don't think I did. So I'll just open up this one. We'll save it as a different file for the animation. Probably should find some reference or something for this. It's really hard to find a reference on the spot though, because you can just like spend so much time searching, especially for like jump over the rock. This is hilarious. Let's watch that one again. Jump over the rock. Yes, that's what I meant. Jump over the rock. All right. Maybe I'll just rough it out. We'll see if I can come up with some reference later, because I could spend too much time watching YouTube videos trying to figure out what it is I'm going to do here. Let's see. Animation mode. Got to get my brain back into animation mode here. Turn off symmetry. All right, this pose is on frame 1. Let me make sure I save a different version. Save as. Oh boy, where am I here? No, not backdrops. Character sets. Source. Characters. So when you're using source control, it's not like you get to, it doesn't, I mean, you have to practice this, otherwise you get into a problem, but you don't necessarily go around and save, oh, version 01, 02, 03, 04. You're saving version 01 because it's, the, you know, this is the jump 01. And if you had a different jump, it would be jump 02. And your iterations are all stored on source control. So it's important to understand the difference. And it's a bit confusing for people starting out because they don't realize that, oh, I'm really not supposed to save iterations. That's confusing. Although in theory, you could technically turn on when you do save scene option box and you save incremental save. You know, that's pretty harmless because what it does is it creates a subfolder that puts the file in there. Slowly get my way back over here again. Characters. So we have an incremental save folder that just got created, and it's got, oh, never mind, I created it for a while there. So we have jump rock in there and the file that I saved, and that's getting automatically getting backed up. But meanwhile, your source control is just going to be using this, you know, saving iterations of that file via the server, which I guess I'll be doing in a bit when I finally get to that. So let's see, how long would this timeline be, I guess? Well, let's see what long sequencer file is. Cinematic pose. Let's open up the map again for fun. Don't think I need this one anymore because I decided that that wasn't the way to do it. Oh, I just did the same thing. Maps, overview. Sure. No, wait, don't. Don't save. All right, and no, cinematic. By the second hour of Twitch streams, my brain is getting tired. It's funny. It's like, oh yeah, what was I doing? But luckily, when I'm animating and I get in the flow, I don't need brain power. It just works. Well, that's not true. It's actually pretty stressful animating, especially when you're starting out. But like starting a new animation. But it uses a different part of my brain, I find, and I can just sort of like zone out and just do animation. 150 frames is how long the sequencer file is. So let's make this 150 frames and see if we can fit it in there. And if not, then we'll just make it longer, shorter, whatever. So about halfway through the animation, I guess the character would be jumping. So I'm going to try and hit S here, which is making S's over here, which is really annoying. So I'll reselect the whole thing. Hit S. There we go. And let's see here. This is going to get started here. Take the master control here. And we're going to do the first pose. This is a slight problem when you're doing animations in a game engine, and the reason, another good argument as to why control rigs being in the engine is a very promising direction, because you can see it even in this case right now where I'm not really sure what the camera angle is going to look like. So, and we've always had this problem, and it's like, okay, do you do your camera modifications in Maya and then export them to Unreal, which there's a pipeline for that. You can do that. Export your camera animations and they can import them in. Or do you do your animations blindly in Maya and then do your camera work in Unreal, which is the way that we were doing it. And, you know, the way I'm probably going to do it here. It does require, I mean, it really helps if you're using motion capture, because then, you know, what are you going to do if it's not, you're basically at the mercy of the motion capture anyways. So it's better off just to like clean up the mocap and then put it in the engine and see what it looks like, and then do your tweaks from there. Like, you know, do your tweaks based on what's on camera. What I have to do first of all is get my HIK to turn on for the get my IK turning on for the feet, because right now they're all using FK, which is fine, but I really want them to be using IK in the beginning here, and I forget where the switch is. I don't know if it's this little guy. Yeah, there it is. So we put on the IK feed again, which obviously looks terrible because the feet are still way over here. But anyway, so I guess the argument was, you know, if you can get your rig in Unreal and your, let me just undo that for a second here, and your animation pipeline in Unreal, then you're seeing through your camera and animating at the same time. There can be a huge benefit for that, for sure. And it's, you know, you must be, oh, there's the grid right there. Let's go to the grid options and make this a lot bigger. It takes a while for me to get that set up usually. Sorry, let me just get this going here. It does take a while to get the first pose, the posing sort of sorted out usually. And I might even make a mock-up camera just to give myself something to reference. It's possible I could even maybe export the camera from Unreal into Maya, but I'd have to look into that pipeline. Plus, it's not even an animated camera, so mostly I can just eyeball it. Get the knee pull vectors working. So I'm going to do a blockout phase here, or posing. So it's going to be like a bunch of poses for each as I sort of run through this. And it's possible I'll be able to get this done before the end of the Twitch here in the next 40-30 minutes. And have something so that we can at least see it in Unreal with character. Well, I'm definitely going to put it in Unreal, but whether or not I get through the entire blocking phase or not, I don't know. Let's try zeroing some of these things out here. Make sure we get ourselves back to a default state here. This hand is using IK because it was holding onto the rock. So I'm going to switch this back to FK. So the arms are FK, the feet are IK. Looks like it was posed out already. I must have been working on it before I decided to switch to IK. Zero this out. it's really important to try to zero things out, just so that you're not like, rather than eyeballing where their original pose was, because you could spend a lot of time thinking it looks like the same thing, and then when you animate it, it's like, oh, why is it spinning 360 degrees as soon as I start playing it? Something didn't get reset there. Okay. Let me just make sure that we have both poses still. Alright, good. Sometimes if you forget to turn on auto key or do something foolish like that, you realize afterwards, spending all this time doing a pose, that you're like, oh, I've just removed my previous pose. That's very frustrating. What was the other controller here? We got that controller, this one. Zero that out. Zero the head out. I don't want to zero everything out. Like, for example, I want to keep these finger poses. And I'm carefully rotating this using gimbal mode because I want to make sure that I catch myself if I start putting putting poses into gimbal state here. All right, this is not going to be a standing pose, I bet, because basically we need to be running at this stage to get to that rock, which isn't very easy to do. This is actually a fairly challenging animation. But like I said, we're just going to block it out. And that's really the best way to approach it when you're trying to do any type of animation, especially in a production environment where, you know, the director is going to want to see your work within the day, or at least within a couple days at most. And so you don't want to show them this like terrible, half-finished, floaty looking thing. You want to show them something that's pretty clean and concise and understand, you know, portraying the idea that you have fairly clearly. And so when you block stuff out, it really gives you the ability to like show what it is you're trying to do without, and still maintaining a fairly clean look. So I haven't quite got to the actual blocking part of it yet, but I will in a second. Tempted to translate that head, but I don't think that's the way you're supposed to use that controller. I think there's just a neck controller or something being moved. Or not. I don't see any controller shifted here. All right, we'll go with this pose. So I'm going to grab everything just in case, hit S, make sure it's all keyed, especially since I've switched some of the limbs from IK to FK. You know, once you switch them over, the controllers that were hidden before become exposed. So if you know, when you select all like this, if they're hidden, you're not picking them, so they're not getting keyed. It's kind of important to realize that when you're trying to do IK to FK. So I'm going to grab all these curves here, and we're going to switch it to step tangent, which basically holds the pose until it gets to the next pose. So this is what I mean by blocking it out, where you just have like a clean cut vision of what your animation is going to be. You don't have to worry about like trying to do all the in-betweens and setting that all up individually. You can just do the one pose to the next pose. And I would obviously want to make more of these poses, but I might do, instead of doing you know, the pose after this for the running, I might do the last pose just to really visualize where this is going, and and make some massive changes if I have to. There's a new feature in Windows in Maya 2020, which I've just realized I'm in Maya 2019, where there's 2 new buttons down here, and they allow you to change the default of what type of curves you're going to switch between. So I'll show you how to do it in 2019, which is go to the preferences, go to animation, and down here tangents, we have default in tangent, default out tangent. Here I can switch this to clamped and stepped. And by doing that, every time I make a key, it's going to keep it nice locked in like this. And if I was in 2020, I wouldn't have to go all the way to preferences to change those settings. I could just click 2 buttons up here that are in the icons up here that have little, you'll know because they've got the little green highlights around them that they're a new feature, unless you've disabled that, of course. And they're also visible down here somewhere as like a feature. So you can just turn it on, turn it off, which is, or, you know, it's a pull down, but anyway, it's way easier than the preferences. They should have done that many years ago, but that's always easy to say in hindsight. All right, I'm gonna do the last one here, last pose. Oh, see, the problem is I've got to do all this switch again. Let me just grab these keys. I got to switch all the feet and the hand into IK to FK. So I'm going to take this middle mouse click, drag to 150, hit S. Yeah, this will probably work. I'll just translate it over there. So I grab the feet and the hips. Oh, and the pole vectors, although they might come with me already. No. And drag it over here. Now, this was an interesting question because in Unreal, we have this thought of what are we going to do? Or we have the character run up. It makes sense that the character would run from the behind here, maybe even go up the hill a little bit. And I should actually export this geometry. That would make a lot of sense. And do that pipeline. Which means, of course, all my animation is way in the wrong place. They're going to have to go way off into the middle of nowhere, but whatever. Anyways, so the character runs up, jumps over this rock, and what do they do afterwards? They land, and then maybe we're going to do like shoot, duck, and shoot, and then run away. That was what I was thinking. Do we run off to the right of the screen or the left of the screen? You know, if she goes to the left of the screen, she's going to be like doo-doo-doo-doo down the hill. She could come towards the camera, I guess. And but I don't know. I'm not sure if that's the best idea. If she's entering from the right side of the screen and jumps over, she's probably going to be going to the left because she's traveling in a straight line, not trying to do a circle or something. Obviously, if she's jumping over the rock, she's not trying to like hide anymore. And if she's standing here, I wonder how tall she is, if she's able to stay in the shot or not. We may have to adjust the shots a bit. But it would be kind of nice opportunity to have like gunfire shooting and then maybe yeah, I don't know where I'm doing this. It's like what if she's looking at you, the camera, and you're the bad guy and she's trying to attack you? I don't know. Just change your head direction a little bit. But if she is, then you're definitely in target range. It would seem very vulnerable to jump out of this rock. And plus it's complicated to do. I don't know if that's a great idea right now. So I'm gonna go with run to the left of the screen. She does a aim and fire and then maybe runs down the hill. Because the camera shot's pretty far away, so I mean if she was to run towards the camera, she'd have to run a really long time before she got closer to the camera, so that wouldn't really seem all that logical. Camera's way over here. So, and the hill's not that steep, so she would be able to run, even though you can't see the ground, doesn't really make a difference, but She might even be able to do something more interesting when she comes up above the rock. Like maybe instead of she's running up to the rock, she's just hiding back here, and then she just gets up and leaps over. Oh, that's a cool vista back there. Maybe that's what she should do. Okay, so here's another idea. She looks over, fire, goes and then leaps over, looks over, fire, and then leaps over and runs off shot. Because you wouldn't want to be exposed anyways. So it makes sense that she would, instead of like standing there in front of all the fire getting shot, she'd be like hiding behind the rock, and then she'd jump out and run away. All right, let's do that. So that makes my first pose I just made kind of irrelevant, but that's okay. I am going to try to do this export of landscaping. We've got about 15 minutes or so. And this is going to be a bit crazy because this is one huge mesh, but I'm pretty sure I can do it. So I grab the two meshes I want to export, and I go File, Export Selected from the File menu. This is pretty important that we do it this way because it will export it from your level. Oh, and it just crashed, so that's awesome. I wonder if that's something that will happen every time I do this. But it's important that I do it from the level because it's going to it's gonna load it up in a Maya in a world coordinate that is matching to the game level, so that way my player will already be in the right place. All right, let's see if this will work. Maybe it's because I had sequencer open. That's why it crashed. So we'll do it without sequencer. So export selected, and it's still live. It's still, oh, it crashed. You know what? This is just reminding me of a bug that happened last week where I couldn't import anything without it crashing. But if I use 4.24, it worked. Okay. New plan. I don't know if this is gonna work. I gotta be. This is gonna be a lot more complicated all of a sudden. So my plan is to try to bring it over to 4.24 so I can export this out from it without crashing. That requires potentially grabbing the assets, migrating them to another map, or sending them to another map and then migrating them to the content, and then importing it into another map that's 4.24 and then exporting it. This is ridiculous. Why do I have to do all that? Let's just do the landscape. See if we can do this. Export selected. 1, 2, 3. Crash. There it goes. Oh, I wonder if it's because I have Perforce on. Trying some ideas. It's a bit shocking that nobody has, like, this seems like a huge issue, right? Like, how could 4.25 be released and people can't import or export things without crashing? So it's got to be something local to my setup. And what is it though? I'm pretty sure I won't be able to open this in 4.24 because I have already added the environment sky mesh stuff, which is a very much big change since 4.25. So that's not going to work. So What was my theory? Oh yeah. Let's change source control settings. Let's go to none. Run without source control. Overview. File. Export selected. Crash. Question is it worth it for me to do this? Okay, let's do it. I got 10 minutes. So, grab the map, grab the assets. In fact, what I'm going to do is create a new level. Oh my goodness, this is so crazy. So, create a new level using levels. Create a new one, empty level, put it right in the default, call it export temp. And we're going to grab these assets and we're going to say move them to selected actors to level. Good thing I have 32 gigs of RAM. Hopefully that's going to work out fine there. We'll see. Maybe that's why it crashed. I'm curious. I think it's, well, maybe not. Maybe it's, wait, no, it's stuck. Let's take a look at my performance here. 19 gigs of RAM being used. $20 gigs of RAM. It's going up. Uh-oh. 24. Oh my goodness, it really is going up. Wow, this is going to be a real question of whether or not this will work or not. Like, if it's using up that much RAM, I can't even imagine what the export file will be like. This just seems like a bit of a disaster. $26. So I guess what it's trying to do is it's putting the map into the clipboard and then it's going to save it and paste it back into the other map. It really is going to be insane when I get this into the into Maya. Oh, there it goes. There, it's saved. Okay, building grass maps. All right, so here's our map. Source controls back on again. So what we do is we say export selected, or sorry, we say migrate. Asset actions, migrate, save selected. These are all the things that are associated to these files. And I'm doing this very carefully like this because I don't want it to include the rest of the stuff in the map. Oh, look, that made it crash. So I can't even migrate with it crashing. That's going to really slow me down. It's unfortunate that this is how my Twitch is ending. Migrate everything. Actually, you know what? I probably don't need the textures. It's got these layer infos and stuff. And then we have the maps for the Quixel assets. But I do need the mesh. Ah, boy. I don't think I'm approaching this very well. Anyways, it's going to crash anyways. As soon as I open the folder. Crash. All right. Never mind. We're going to go back to Maya. I'll have to figure this out on my own. I don't really know why Maya is, or Unreal is so ridiculously stubborn whenever it opens up my Explorer window. Maybe there's something I can search on the internet that says how to do a workaround on that front. Like I said, on 4.24, it's not a problem. So, but some of the features I'm using are just don't exist on 4.24. All right, so what we're gonna do is that first pose. I got the last pose now, which actually works out fine. So the first pose is one we're gonna make so that the squat down. I got 5 more minutes to get this done. So we'll throw this together and we'll have 3 poses, which actually are pretty good. It might be useful enough for us to see what we're doing in Unreal, if I can get that in Unreal at the end. Translate Y 0, rotation 0. And we've got like an artificial rock here. See, what's going to happen is I'm going to import the animation. Oh, I think I've already got the offset from the pose though, so yeah, it'll be all right. Luckily, you can't even see her feet, so I don't even know if I need to worry about that part. For some reason, her arms always want to shoot forward. Okay. See, there's our gimbal lock right there. Let me just zero these out for a sec. Why does it zero out this way? Oh boy, this is not good. FK World Local. All right, that's what's going on. It was oriented to local world orientation, which is cool. It's useful, but maybe not in this context. Four minutes and counting. Let's see if I can get this done. She's really like twisted up here. Even though you can't see some of these limbs from the camera, I still really like putting the logic into it, just for the sake of like helping you as an animator understand what it is you're trying to do. I've worked on a scene before where somebody like really fudged the rules in terms of what was physically possible for a shot, and he just couldn't get the shot approved because it was like everybody was like, something a little weird about the shot. What else? What is it? I can't quite figure it out. And so eventually the shot made it to me, and I look at it and it's like, it looked normal, but for some reason, like when you looked at it from a different angle, like the hand was like way over here and the head, it was all like bizarro. And so I just reset the shot to, you know, natural human proportions, and then it got approved. It wasn't maybe as simple as I'm making it out to be, but it was definitely like an example of like sometimes it really is good to like keep it, even though you can't see it, put the effort into making it look logical. All right, so I'm just going to keep that fairly basic. We do this. Now, because I've got that set to stepped curves, it should keep them nice and locked in. We are so far from making it look like it makes much sense, but hey, that's okay. We're going to do this. We're going to save the scene. Here, I better do the demonstrate the proper pipeline for it. So we saved our scene. This is our scene here. We're going to mark for add, and we're going to submit it to Perforce. So first version blocking. And honestly, we could submit all this other stuff too. Just to make sure it's all synced up. And then from there, you would check out your file and be able to do another iteration. Whoa, that's really going slowly. So let's go back to Maya. And what we're going to do is export the animation. So skeleton, grab this file, export selected, FBX exports. Let's find the source folder again. Maybe I'll just put that right in there. Okay. Blocking 01. Very important that I turn on animation and bake animation. Export, close, browser, characters. This folder is still here. Let's get rid of this thing. Delete. I didn't want me to delete it. There's probably some kind of things. Let's do fix up redirectors. And then maybe I can delete it now. Nope, still something in there. Okay, so animation, we'll import, see if it just imports okay here. Oh, see, it crashes even importing animation. There's definitely something weird about this. Because I've obviously imported it before. I would have got that in there. Maybe I'll have to like clear up prefs or something. Very important, didn't realize this. Definitely something I'm going to work on before my next Twitch stream is making sure that that's all resolved, because it really becomes a blocking point for me right now. All right, from there I will stop because we are at a point where I am over my Twitch time. Or, you know, not that it's a super important priority, but I do like to make sure that I kind of keep it within a reasonable thing. Otherwise it could go on forever and it's kind of boring to watch. So, and I'll respect people's time. If there is anything that you guys have that you think might be interesting to add or that I could be working on, feel free to suggest ideas and feel free to chat with me in these windows. I know I'm not great at remembering to look at it, but that's mostly because not many people usually chat. It's great that I did have Jono3D chat with me a little bit. Nadia was there to say hi. So that's pretty cool. And I had a follower from Nom Nom and Random, which was great. Anyway, so I'll leave it there. And I will come back again next week and try to finish this scene off and see if we can get some more cool things happening in the next Twitch stream. All right, take care, guys.